during your lunch break.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios, here's Charles Hanagriff.
And we welcome you into Hannytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hanagriff along with Mario Jerez and Jacob Beck. Thank you for being with us today. Scott Rabelais here in about 15 minutes. We'll also do first class, second class, and no class, as we always do on Wednesdays. Had a chance to go out and watch the game last night from the stands. Had a group of friends and go watch LSU and UL Lafayette last night from the stands. It was a fun atmosphere. It wasn't one of those overflowing the park, but it was a really good crowd and an interesting ball game. It was sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly a little bit for LSU. The Raging Cajuns win the game 8-5, and certainly that's not what you want if you're LSU. But it was not a game that was completely useless either. The question every time LSU loses a midweek game, do midweek games matter? Okay, so let me answer that in the way that I have always answered that, which is that midweek games, do they matter as far as development? They do not matter, or they rarely matter when you're talking about postseason ratings and things like that. So that's always been my stock answer. The hate to use this word because it reminds everybody of a certain football coach, but the process for midweek games is always a lot more important than the actual outcome. I mean, you can't lose them all, okay? But if your record in midweek games is 8-2, that's perfectly fine. So LSU loses really for the first time this year, so you're not even worried about the rate, the RPI points or anything like that. That doesn't matter, okay? But the development does. And what last night's game was about was Javen Coleman. And for the first time in 14 months, Javen Coleman took the mound and went out and threw 16 pitches and looked pretty sharp doing it. On the scoreboard, he was hitting anywhere from 92 to 94. One of those pitches touched 95. He got 2 strikeouts to open the ball game. He was high with a couple of his pitches early. You could kind of see the adrenaline flowing there, and overthrew a couple of them, but just a couple. And I'm perfectly fine with that. Understood that. Expected that, actually. I mean, think about that young man's road here, okay? Last year he was coming into the season, and he was going to be a big part of what they did. They just didn't have left-handers overflowing the bullpen, so he was going to play a role. And he had played a strong role as a freshman. He was going to make that next step. And in 3 games into the season, his season is done. 14 months is a long time when you are doing nothing but rehabbing and trying to get back. And every step, you have to take them in order. You can't rush the process lest you be set back. The doubts that creep into your head about, is my arm right? Am I back to where I was? So I can only imagine what was going through his head when he got back, that I couldn't even imagine not having had to go through 14 months of rehabilitation. On Friday, a former LSU player that you're going to remember the name because he was the MVP in 2000 of the College World Series, Trey Hodges, is going to join us. And I'm looking forward to that conversation because Trey Hodges went through a lot of injuries and a long rehabilitation process and some struggles when he got back on the field before everything finally clicked for him at the end. And of course he went on and played in the major leagues, and there's a couple of candidates for that on this staff, and Javen Coleman is one. So very encouraged by what I saw. The velocity was there, the command was there. They got him in 1 inning, very clean, very crisp, got him out. Jay Johnson on Javen Coleman's return.
Really awesome to see, for Javen. I know the work that he's put into it. Obviously a great development for our team. And again, as you said, Bill, I've never seen somebody return that quickly and return in that type of form. And, he got his surgery done and got to work, and, even through a couple setbacks, to be honest with you, persevered through those and so proud of him and happy for him. And like I said, happy for our team to have him available.
So that was the good. The bad was that LSU is still very much searching for roles for every pitcher on the staff not named Paul Skeens. I got a Twitter question earlier in the week, and the question was, if LSU were playing in a regional this weekend, who would throw game one? And I thought to myself, So I go through scenarios in my head. I thought it was a really good question. And I played out a few scenarios. Skeens is going to throw game two. It's not too early to start thinking about this, okay? We're in the second half of the SEC season starting 2 days from now. So you got to start looking ahead. It's like, how are they going to play this? And I went through a bunch of scenarios in my head, and I settled on Floyd, but I don't love it because that means I don't know who's throwing game three, which is, either going to be to keep your season alive or it's going to be for a regional championship. Also, I don't know what I'm getting out of Floyd right now, but I know what I'm getting out of the 4 seed. I'm getting somebody's number one pitcher. Now, that guy may be really good, or LSU may light him up like a Christmas tree. I don't know. But there always is the possibility that the guy you go out against in game one is going to tie you in knots. UL Lafayette threw David Christie out in the third inning last night, and for 6 innings, he tied the best offense in the country in knots. I mean, he walked 4 guys, and only one of them came around to score. I mean, he did a really good job with keeping LSU off balance, and it won the game for UL Lafayette, in my opinion, more so than any other player last night. Christie was the guy. So LSU's trying to establish roles for pitchers, and that once they got past Javen Coleman last night, nobody, in my opinion, took a step forward. Thatcher Hurd, they've been looking for a role for him. They've been trying to get his confidence back. They've been trying to get him straight. And last night was another step backwards. I'm sorry. Because he's just not throwing enough strikes. I don't know how else to say it or how to say it nicely. It's 2 more walks. He only faced 5 batters. You can't walk 40% of the guys. They put him into a number of these midweek situations where it's like, okay, I think it was a 5-run lead against Nichols the last time, and it's just not there. The talent is there. The velocity is there, but it is not clicking for him. He's one of the guys that they need, but right now it's not there for him. Riley Cooper went out and threw 3 innings because Riley Cooper can throw infinitely, it seems like, okay? But, he wasn't particularly effective last night, nor was Sam Dutton, nor was Blake Money. These are 4 guys that may have to pitch no, not may. Some of these guys are going to have to pitch in Southeastern Conference play and in regional play for LSU. And Hurd's ERA is over 7, and Cooper's is over 6, and Dutton's is over 6.5, and Money's is over 6. Now, I played, like I said, I played out scenarios for the regional, and I think that if Paul Skeens goes out and wins 1 game for you in a regional or in a super regional, I'll play home run derby with anybody else at Alec Box Stadium with this lineup. But somebody going to have to pitch after the big guy. And right now, not only do I not know who would go game 1 of a regional, I don't know who would go in game 3 of a regional. I don't know for sure. I mean, I can give you guys, but I don't know how well it's going to work out. If LSU takes a 1-run lead to the 9th, who's going in? 2 weeks ago it was Gavin Guidry, and he did a great job. And then last week Guidry ran into some trouble. They had to put him in earlier in the game. It was Bryce Collins this week. Bryce Collins did great. Is Bryce Collins going to be able to do that again? Do you like Griffin Herring? I like him an awful lot. Do I like him enough that I want him pitching in a championship game of a regional? Well, I don't know. I need to see a little bit more. Of all of these veterans, who can I count on to come in there and get me 2 innings? Can you go get me 6 outs? If Floyd goes 4 innings in an opener, who's the guy that I get to that bridges me to the end? Of all of the relief pitchers right now, I think the one I know the best, and he's not even a relief pitcher right now, he's kind of been a hybrid, is Christian Little. I know that I can get 3 innings out of Christian Little, and he's going to pitch to an ERA of about 4. That's fine. I feel very good about that. If Christian Little pitches 3 innings right now, I figure he's going to give up a run in a third. That's okay. You know what you got. Everybody else, is kind of a work in progress. So if Coleman can be a part of that solution, it is going to go an awfully long way. Thankfully, I don't have to decide about and Jay Johnson doesn't have to decide about a starting pitcher in game 1 of a regional this Friday. He's got to decide on how they best beat Ole Miss, and he did talk about facing a Rebels team, defending national champions, but struggling this year.
Looking forward to it. Never have been there personally, and scouted them a lot over the last 2 years, and seen them play there and watch them on TV, and it's a good team that just has been a little bit unfortunate with their luck, whether it's injuries or a couple of things not going their way, and they're going to give us their best shot, that's for sure.
They're also without Elliott, so one of the guys that they rode to the national championship a year ago. Hey, the year after the national championship, not the easiest. Okay, it's very, very difficult to ratchet back up that level of intensity the second time. So that was the good and the bad. The ugly, and I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek because I'm from Southwest Louisiana, okay? The rivalry between these two teams in baseball has always been a little bit spirited. At times it's been bad spirit. Now I think it's good spirit. I think this is good baseball. Like I said, I went and sat in the stands last night with some friends of mine that graduated from UL Lafayette, and it was a lot of fun. But for LSU fans that live in Lafayette, they're going to hear it for a couple of days because that's just how it is. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. And Johnson talked about the loss last night.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, they had 14 hits and 36 at-bats, walked 6 times, 5 on their own. We intentionally walked a guy. So that's a lot of base runners and a lot of traffic. And, frankly, I feel like we were lucky to get out of it with 8 runs. I don't know how many guys they left on base, 11. And, tip your hat to David Christie. He threw 41 pitches 36 hours ago and got in there and executed, and we couldn't quite get on a barrel with him and get any offensive momentum going.
When Hideo Nomo came over to pitch for the Dodgers, he didn't speak any English. The great Hideo Nomo. And Ron Peranowski was a longtime pitching coach with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he the first time he went out to the mound to talk to Hideo Nomo, my thought was, what's he going to tell him? Because Nomo doesn't speak English, and Peranowski speaks only English. So what's he going to tell him? And it turned out that Peranowski apparently learned 2 words in Japanese to tell him. Those 2 words are the same words I tell to all the LSU pitchers in any language you want it. Throw strikes. You're throwing too many out of the zone. Throw strikes. Easier said than done. We'll take a break. We come back. Scott Rabalais from The Advocate is with us. This is Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Big Mike's in Denham Springs. You know what? We get into this time of year. You want ball crawfish? You're going to get them every day at Big Mike's, starting at 11 a.m. It's great. It's a great menu, but just ball crawfish that you're going to have hot. They're going to be boiled the proper way, okay? They're going to be easy to peel. They're going to be spiced properly. You're going to get some good ball crawfish at Big Mike's. Also, ball shrimp on Monday nights, all you can eat, starting at 5 o'clock all the way until close. Mario's going to be jitterbugging tomorrow night. Jitterbug lessons again on Thursday. And happy hour drink prices from 3 until 7, Monday through Friday. All day on Sunday, starting at 11 o'clock. You can watch all of the sports on the 40 TVs in Big Mike's. Private parties are encouraged. The party rooms in multiple sizes at Big Mike's. So whatever the size of your gathering, they're going to be able to handle that for you. And, of course, off-site catering is available as well. Part of the heart of Denham Springs on Aspen Boulevard, Big Mike's. We're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're asking for your support in our effort to making more dreams come true. Each year, our Dreams Come True radiothon is powered by the Baton Rouge Clinic. Visit GuaranteeMedia.com to pledge your support today, and thank you.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd.
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at the Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood.
Join me Wednesday for the Hunt Palmer Show, recapping LSU and Louisiana Lafayette. We'll chat with Chris Demouy and a preview of the Zurich Classic. Hunt Palmer Show, 1 to 3 weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hanagriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
First class, second class, no class coming up at the bottom of the hour. Bring in Scott Rabelais from The Advocate, who is down at the Zurich Classic. Play begins tomorrow. Rab, how you doing?
Hello, friends. I can do that one more time. The second of two golf tournaments I cover every year.
Yeah. Well, and this one's a little bit more, can I use the word relaxed than the previous one that you played? Maybe not the prestige and the green jacket and all that, but a little bit more relaxed. Definitely a different style of tournament, would you say?
Oh, totally. I mean, obviously you don't have the pressure of a major, the Masters, and you have someone who has your back. You have a playing partner who, if you mess up, he can maybe hit a great recovery shot, or he can sink the long putt that you left him for birdie or something like that. So the players. I've noticed this the whole time. This is the sixth time I think they've had this format here, and you definitely notice a different tenor and a vibe with the players than you have normally. Now they want to win. I mean, if there's a sudden death playoff on Sunday, I mean they're going to be intense. But yeah, definitely going into the week, it's very different.
We've got some interesting pairings. Generally, you see guys, they go play with somebody that they like. They go play somebody that's a friend of theirs. But we've got some Ryder Cup implications in this. We've got some very big names when you're talking about Ikola Morikawa. And then we've got some what I call friendship pairings. I think there's a couple of guys in the field that are playing with a relative. So give me some of your thoughts on some of the pairings down to Zurich.
Yeah, I'll start with the Ryder Cup. You mentioned because you're going to see the team formats that you see in the Ryder Cup. Best ball, alternate shots, that kind of thing. So it's a chance for the captains to see how guys look in certain situations. And the captains are playing together. Zach Johnson is this year's captain for the U.S. team. Steve Stricker, who's captained these teams in the past, I think he's done the Ryder Cup, he's done the President's Cup, is the vice captain. And then you have Luke Donald and his vice captain, Eduardo Molinari. They're playing together tomorrow afternoon at 12:31. So that's interesting. But yeah, it's definitely something that those guys use to look at and see. They're not going to tell them who to play with necessarily, but they can see. This is a pairing I want to have when we play in Rome this fall. So that could go a long way. But those are interesting pairings. Of course, you have some of the marquee pairings. Sam Burns and Billy Horschel, of course, some of the greatest local interest, playing with Harris English and Tom Hoagie, 7:39 tomorrow morning. Max Homa, Ikola Morikawa, that's a big pairing. Playing with the Fitzpatrick brothers, Matt Fitzpatrick and his brother Alex. Of course, Matt Fitzpatrick won last week at the Heritage Classic, the reigning U.S. Open champion. And we have the Kims, Siwoo and Tom, playing with Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay. Cantlay and Schauffele are the defending champions and the highest-ranked pair in the tournament. They're number 4 and 5 in the world. But Steve Worthy, the tournament director, who we just talked to a few minutes ago, said the most inquiries he's gotten from anybody, or the most interest he's heard about any pairing, is John Daly playing with David Duval. They're playing tomorrow afternoon at 12:18, going off of number 10. John Daly still draws a crowd. Man, still draws the fan interest. No question about it. Doesn't surprise me at all that he said that.
No, the dress, the attitude. He's fun. He's like the guy that you play 18 with when you show up at the course by yourself and you're like, hey, you want to go shoot 18, and he's the guy that's at the bar. And it's like, yeah, man, I'll go shoot 18 with you. And he goes out there and he beats you limb from limb, even though he's had 4 beers and 2 packs of cigarettes. I didn't realize Duval was, and I know Daly is still a draw when he goes and doesn't play. I mean, he can still go sign autographs and take pictures all day. I don't know, is Hooters still his main sponsor, or I don't know, but he used to go out with the Hooters bus or whatever it was and just take pictures and sign autographs all day.
John was camped out of the Augusta Hooters during Masters Week.
Yeah. I mean, his full-time job is being John Daly. But Duval had kind of fallen off my radar. I didn't realize he was still playing at this level. So what's he been up to? I mean, this is a former number 1 in the world that has not been in the spotlight for a minute.
Yeah, John's my age. John's 56, going to be 57 next week. David is just a senior tour qualified player. He's 51, so he's eligible for the senior tour. I think he's playing a lot of golf. He's done a lot of TV, with the Golf Channel and stuff like that. But I think his full-time job is, in a way, to piggyback what you said, is being David Duval too, because he obviously has enough money. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. So he was an interesting case, David Duval. You remember he was, if anyone was winning at anything close to a clip that Tiger Woods was 20 years ago, it was David Duval, and he got to number 1 of the world during the Tiger reign as well. Won the British Open, and then kind of was like, as some guys do, like, okay, I've done what I wanted to do, and the intensity just wasn't there anymore. While Tiger and Phil Mickelson, and certainly before them, players like Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson, they had the desire kept burning through their career. David was kind of like, okay, I got the number 1. I won a major. I'm good. And but it's nice to see him play again, because he was a tremendous player. People probably kind of forget how good he was in the early 2000s, late 90s.
Because his game didn't, if I remember this right, you can refresh my memory, but I don't remember his game completely falling apart. Like Ian Baker Finch won the British Open, and then all of a sudden, 2 years later, couldn't hit a golf ball in a fairway to save his life. But that didn't happen to Duval. He just kind of scaled back the schedule.
Exactly right. Yes.
Okay. I think that the Zach Johnson Steve Stricker pairing is really interesting because Stricker was the captain in 2021 when the United States won at Whistling Straits, and it was the biggest margin of victory for a U.S. Ryder Cup team since the 60s. So Johnson's got a little bit tougher thing because the United States hasn't won in Europe since the early 90s. And I know nothing, maybe you do, about the course that they're going to play in Italy when they play it. But Stricker, you can make the argument, is the most successful Ryder Cup captain of the last 4 decades with that whooping that they put on him in Wisconsin 2 years ago. So whatever advice he can give Zach Johnson, please, I'm all ears. I want to hear what Strick's got to say because he was, he pushed every right button 2 years ago.
No question. It was an amazing victory for the United States, which has struggled, as most all fans know, in the Ryder Cup to win here or in Europe. But it's much tougher in Europe. The Europeans on their home soil, they're going to be both teams, and probably the Europeans will be a little diminished by the Live Golf Tour. Those guys are not allowed to play. You're not going to have Ian Poulter doing Ian Poulter Ryder Cup things because he's not invited to play. And you're not going to have Henrik Stenson, who was the captain for this year, but his captaincy got yanked from him and given to Luke Donald when he joined the Live Tour. So they're probably a little diminished, but those guys are still tough on European soil, man. It's if I was the Ryder Cup captain like Zach Johnson, Steve Stricker is probably be my first call to be someone who played well in those formats and captained well and can give you every chance you have. Even though the U.S. will be favored, I would imagine it's still going to be a tough situation to come back, to yank the cup back, as they say.
Reb, let me ask you about the future of this tournament. This looks like a tough spot on the schedule to be able to draw top players. You're 2 weeks after the Masters, and in between, the match at the Heritage at Hilton Head is now an elevated event with a purse of $20 million. And with the expanded purses in these selected events, in addition to the majors, in addition to the FedEx Cup, it seems like it's going to be rougher for events like the Zurich, the Rocket Mortgage, events like this that are trying to get the best fields that they can, but it's going to be harder to draw. What kind of vibe are you getting now that we're in the first year of these expanded purse events like the Heritage, and the reaction from the officials at the Zurich about how it may affect the future of the tournament?
Well, it has been challenging. We talked to Steve Worthy, the tournament director, a little while ago, and 7 of the last 10 tournaments have been major, the Masters, the Players, World Golf Championship event, the Dell Match Play, which is going away, and these elevated events. So it's been tough. And then you have the Wells Fargo coming up and the PGA Championship. It's been hard. But there is still a great. I wouldn't put the Zurich on the endangered species list just yet, because there's still a lot of unknowns what next year's schedule is going to look like. They're going to try talking to people who cover golf on a regular basis at the Masters. They're like, they're really going to try to space these tournaments out and not have them all clustered. I'm talking about these elevated tournaments, not have them all clustered. There'll be some different tournaments. Like this year, the Waste Management in Phoenix was an elevated tournament. Next year, the AT&T Pebble Beach is going to be elevated, so they're going to move them around. And Steve Worthy told us that it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Zurich next year or in the near future could be an elevated event as well, that they may take some of these elevated spots and move them around. Now, obviously, you're going to have the cooperation of your sponsor to say, hey, can you come up with a lot more cash? Because I think this year's purse is about $8 million. This year's purse is about $8 million. Yeah, $8.6 million. And then in the future, it's going to, $20 million is going to be for the elevated tournament. So it's going to be a challenge, but it's one that might work to the Zurich's advantage. And they have the advantage of this being the 1 week with a non-stroke play 72-hole event, especially with the World Match Play going away, that can help them out. So we'll see. I'm feeling a little better about the Zurich's future than I did maybe a month or two ago.
Here's my source of optimism for it, Scott. And I'm going to ask you how long you've covered this tournament in its various forms, because I want to say you probably go back to the USF&G days back in the early 90s and through its run as a Freeport McMoran. It's not like this tournament has not had big challenges in the past, whether it be the spot on the calendar, the purse, its ability to draw players, changing the golf course, and the golf tournament, the PGA stop in New Orleans, no matter what challenge it has faced, has always found a way. And that's my source of optimism, is that it may be different, it may be challenging, but they always seem to find a way to make the New Orleans stop viable on the PGA Tour.
Charlie, you're exactly right. This is a tournament that has existed in one form or another since 1938. It's one of the very oldest, non-majors on the PGA Tour, and it's been played at City Park. It's been played at Lakewood. It's been played at English Turn. It's here now. It's played at different venues. It went away. There used to be a tournament in Baton Rouge, and for years back in the 50s and early 60s, there wasn't a tournament here in New Orleans. Then it came back, and the tournament in Baton Rouge went away, for example. So they've been able to sustain it through a lot of. I've covered this tournament since I was in college. I remember going to Lakewood in 1987, like when Ben Crenshaw won, and driving past the Superdome. It was the weekend of the Elite Eight, and thinking, man, LSU could have been here for 1 point short against Indiana. They could be here next week in the Final Four. And so it's had a lot, but they've got a very dedicated sponsor now in Zurich. They're going to be their sponsor through 2026 as the current contract, and no reason to think it might not be more in the future. So, and you got a venue that some players love, some players don't. Some players don't love Pete Dye design golf courses, but a lot of them like coming to New Orleans. This started a press conference in here with Sam Burns and Billy Horschel. Sam, of course, the LSU guy. Billy Horschel, a guy who's won it as a stroke play and a team format, and Florida Gator, but he loves coming here. It's kind of like a second home tournament to him. So yeah, I think it's the tournament that has been through a lot. And look, the PGA Tour can't become what the Live Tour is, where it's just a staggered number of these huge purse events and majors and just the playoffs. And they're committed to having tournaments every single week for 40-something weeks out of the year. They don't want to go to, we're playing this week, then we're going to skip 2 weeks, and like the Live Tour does. It'd be like Southwest Airlines starting to charge for bags. I mean, you would go away from one of the core principles of how you exist and what you've always done. So I think in that regard, the Tour has a very vested interest in tournaments like the Zurich, the John Deere Classic, the Valspar Championship, surviving and continuing to thrive. And, we're just going to have to see in this format how it comes about, where these players won't play every week. I mean, they're not going to play, most guys are going to play 20, 23 events. They're not going to play, they're going to play half at most. And so you got to see what you can do to be in that half, and at least get some of the guys to come every year. If they don't come every year, to come every once in a while, like get Jordan Spieth back here, get Justin Thomas back here, get John Rahm back here. That's going to be the test, and we'll see if it happens. If it's an elevated event, that's great. If it's not, then you got work to do, but it's not impossible. And they've been willing to put in the work in the past, as you've said, to keep this thing going.
I agree with everything you just said, except the Southwest Airlines portion of it. When you use that as an analogy, the day after they leave all the planes on the ground for half a day again, Scott, nope. Everything else, I'm fine with.
But they didn't charge your bag.
They didn't charge. No, the bag stayed on the ground. Why would they?
Stayed on the ground.
Have a good time at the tournament, Scott. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Charles.
We'll take a break. First class, second class, no class when we return. Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Infinity of Baton Rouge, and our buying experience just a couple of months ago was fantastic. That's why I tell you about it all the time. You get into the certified pre-owned program in Infinity, and it's just a lot of things that you don't have to worry about. For instance, the first year of your maintenance on the vehicle, that's taken care of. Your roadside assistance, that's taken care of. When you bring your car in to be serviced, you give you a vehicle that you can get around in so you don't have to wait around for your vehicle or arrange for transportation. That's taken care of. So then you go into, what exactly am I looking for? Get with one of their personnel. They'll get you into a vehicle. They'll target your price, the age, the mileage, the make, the model. There's a huge inventory right now at Infinity of Baton Rouge. It's going to be a very easy, less pressure type of buying experience than what you're used to, at least in what I had seen in some of my previous experiences. So right now, Infinity of Baton Rouge will buy your car for cash off the street, like I said, less than 15 minutes to get a quote. You can sell it outright for cash. You can trade it in on another vehicle. There's no pressure to buy, or you can just take the information and do with it what you will. Acura and Infinity of Baton Rouge on Airline Highway in Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text TB to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at the Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and Joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown, presented by Ochsner.
Saturday.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Wednesday's Hump Day AFR, presented by Pluckers. We'll recap LSU ULL in baseball from the box. It's a Whiskey Wednesday, and we begin our SEC spring recaps. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime. Hannytime. First class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
That no man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
My life had become like school on Sunday. No class.
I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
Yesterday was a cool day because I heard something on two players, and it was something I haven't heard in quite a while. yesterday at LSU spring football practice, Mason Smith was back and actually practicing. This was a welcome sight to any LSU football fan. By the way, the first part of our LSU spring football preview is available on the Hannycast right now. Gordy and I dropped the first half this morning. Second half will be up tomorrow. So we got that. If you want to go check it out where you get podcasts. But Mason Smith going to practice was a wonderful thing to see because it was, remember these words, earlier than expected. See, I didn't expect to see Mason Smith do in spring practice what he did yesterday. Thought it would be on the side field pretty much the whole way. I'm not expecting Mason Smith to go out there full contact in spring. Wouldn't expect him to do anything back earlier than expected. Then after the game, Jay Johnson actually used the term with Paxton Kling, ahead of schedule, earlier than expected. First class to athletes coming back earlier than expected, not later than expected, not at all, not that's not what we meant, not check back with me in 2 weeks, not load management, not my little fingernail hurts too much for me to go out and play tonight. Earlier than expected. First class, Mason Smith. First class, Paxton Kling. Mario's giving me a look. Mario's giving me the stink eye. He's giving me the stink eye because he knows what I'm talking about.
It's going to be every injury, huh?
I'm going to be on this for a minute, okay?
Yeah.
I'm going to be on this for a little while. I'm still a bit salty about how the whole thing, and just let me not spoil this. I am not going to put anybody in a general manager's or player's role that may or may not have been involved with an injury in the last weekend. No class today. I got something else because I think I made my point. And just in case I didn't make my point the first time, I made it 3 or 4 more times because that's just about how aggravated I was with it. But yes, coming back, forget about earlier than expected. How about just when expected? I'm going to get an as expected. I'm going to do cartwheels. I'm going to hurt myself doing cartwheels because I'm not really good at cartwheels. And if I hurt myself doing cartwheels, you know what I try to do? I try to get back sooner than expected. I ain't mad. Maybe just a little bit. Guys coming back earlier than expected. First class. Second class, good with a chance to be great. LSU is hosting Haley Van Lith, the dynamite guard formerly of Louisville, now in the transfer portal. She is looked at as the number 1 transfer player in women's college basketball, and kind of listening to the wins here a little bit. LSU's in really good shape here to get her. I'm not saying it's a done deal or anything like that, but they look pretty good. If I had to say yes or no at this point, I would say yes. This just feels like it's different than I don't want to say any other transfer because LSU's had some pretty big transfers. I mean, Joe Burrow ended up being a pretty good get for LSU, if I remember right. But this was the part of the transfer portal that I didn't anticipate. When they first started talking about this years ago, I said, well, you know what's going to happen. If they open up the transfer portal where you don't have to sit out, you're going to have the Power 5 conferences in virtually every sport say, give me a copy of the all-conference team for CUSA. Give me the all-conference team for the Sun Belt. Give me the all-conference team for the Big West because I'm going to get whoever the best players are, and I'm going to put them on my team. I anticipated that, and that has happened. And I anticipated that the players that weren't playing and were disgruntled would transfer at a much higher rate than they ever had before when there was disincentive with the year to sit out, and I was right about that too. What I didn't anticipate was superstars transferring. I really didn't. I didn't think that if you were a starting, this is not Burrow, because Burrow was not a superstar at Ohio State. He was a guy that was in a numbers crunch and couldn't get on the field. Imagine that, okay? The guy in front of him, rest his soul, was pretty good too. But Burrow wasn't a superstar when he got here. He became a superstar after he got here. Van Lith is a superstar now. She could literally go and call any college in the country and they would take her, would recruit her heavily. She would be the best player on 99% of the teams in Division I. There's a good chance she's coming here. where she may not be. Angel Reese's pretty good, right? I didn't expect the Jamison Williamses of the world to transfer from Ohio State to Alabama, okay? I thought if you were a star player at Ohio State, you were pretty much staying. I thought if you were a star player at LSU like Eli Ricks, you were pretty much staying. And I just figured if you were a two-time all-conference player at a school, that you were pretty much staying. And that hasn't been the case at all. In fact, it's gone so far different from that, that it's almost like if you are a superstar at a program that is good but maybe not great. And Louisville's been a great women's college basketball program. I'm thinking more along the lines of the Wake Forest quarterback who decides to go to Notre Dame after 4 years as a starter at Wake Forest. I didn't see that coming with the transfer portal. But for Kim Mulkey and her team, this is good with a chance to be great. You're already going to be a top 5 team next year. You may be preseason number 1. You add Van Lith. You add Alyssa, I'm missing her last name, from DePaul. You're probably going to be preseason, defending champions and preseason number 1. So good with a chance to be great. No class this week. There's a terrific series going on right now between Golden State and Sacramento. Okay. It was the game of the weekend. Of all the game ones, this one was the best. You got the defending champs, and you got a team that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2006. So you've got a hungry fan base. You've got one of the best home court advantages in the NBA for Sacramento. A lot of people think it is the best, and it may very well be. So there's some juice to this series. And what happens in game 2? I got a 3-pronged no class here, okay? If you didn't see the play yet, Domantas Sabonis grabs Draymond Green's leg, okay? There's no question about it. It's a dirty play. Green's trying to go over him. This is after Green sat on him, I think, 8 minutes earlier or whatever. So Sabonis grabs his leg. That's a dirty play. You get a guy trying to run full speed, you grab his leg. It's a dirty play. So what does Green do? He retaliates with a dirty play. He stomps on him, okay? So no class to Sabonis for grabbing the guy's leg. You could have hurt him. No class to Green for stomping on him because there's just no call for that. And then I got to go no class with Stephen A. Smith this morning of his rigid defense of Draymond Green and his absolute disdain for the suspension because it's one of Smith's big contentions here. It's a playoff game. This really means something. I mean, this is not suspending him for a game against the Hawks in February. I like Stephen A. Smith, okay? I know a lot of you don't. I'm actually a fan because I think the guy brings some passion to his work. He can back up what he says most of the time. He makes mistakes like everybody does, but at least I know where he's coming from and I know why he's coming from there. And there's some blood going to it, okay? I like listening to Stephen A. Smith. I don't have to. I'm not one of these people that has to agree with somebody that I listen to on radio or television. I don't have to agree with you to enjoy the product, okay? In fact, I want to hear a different point of view than what I got. I may end up agreeing with you. You may turn me around on something, okay? That's Stephen A. That's why I listen, all right? I think he's very good. I think he's wrong here. The whole idea is that Draymond Green did not do this for the first time on Monday night. He didn't do it for the first time this year. He didn't do it for the first time in the playoffs, okay? This has been a history of what the league calls, and this is Joe Dumars, who's one of the most respected voices in basketball. Dumars won championships as a player, won a championship as a GM, and now he's the executive vice president of basketball operations for the league. There ain't very many voices that you respect more than Joe Dumars. And when Joe Dumars comes out and says excessive and over-the-top actions as a repeat offender warrants a suspension in the playoffs, Joe Dumars is 100% right. If Klay Thompson had done this, he probably gets the technical foul and we all move on. If Steph Curry does this, we get the technical foul and we move on. Sabonis got a technical foul and we moved on. But it's Draymond. Are you singling Draymond out? Yes. Because he deserves to be singled out. The last time he got suspended in the playoffs, which may have cost Golden State a championship, a lot of people believe that it It was because he had gone over the allotted number of technical fouls. Yes. You don't come in this situation and go, Draymond did this again, but it's the playoffs. We're going to give him a pass. No, this is exactly how you met out the punishment for something like this. You make the punishment matter. You create genuine disincentive to do this. I got a lot of respect for Draymond Green as a player. I know, his antics get over the top, but at the end of the day, the guy does a lot of things that help the Golden State Warriors win basketball games and championships. And if he doesn't understand that his absence is going to greatly affect them in this series, then shame on him. You don't think Draymond Green knows by now that they're keeping a closer eye on him than just about anybody else in the league? So this was a no class all the way around. Quit doing this, man. You're screwing up a really good series. This is really good, high-level, intense playoff basketball, and you're just screwing it up. Stop it. No class. Take a break. Come back and wrap things up. Take some of your questions. This is Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
First class, second class, no class is brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. We're kind of in festival season. A lot of jambalayas out there. Make it with Supreme Rice, whether it's the long grain, the medium grain, the brown, or the jasmine. Supreme Rice makes great jambalaya, but it's also great in your red beans. It's great in your stews. It's great in your etouffees. Can't do any better than Supreme Rice. It's easy to get. All your AG food stores have it. All your Walmart neighborhood stores, all of your Rouses. It's going to come at a better price. You're going to be able to stretch your food dollar a little bit and enjoy a delicious product. You're also going to be supporting our Louisiana farmers down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. So pick up Supreme Rice the next time you are shopping for rice. For more information, some unique recipes, go to SupremeRice.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $2,000 off MSRP plus 2.9% APR for 84 months on new 22 Ford Expeditions. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Hannytime, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Hello, Samantha, dear, I hope you're feeling fine. And it won't be long until I'm with you all the time. But until then, I spend my money up right down on my last dime. Come home, live Baton Rouge. Put me on through, gotta send my love down the
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
For the Wednesday edition of Game Time. We're live at Roca Pizzeria on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. We're loaded down with guest handicappers. It's 6 to 8 p.m. Game Time from Roca Pizzeria on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
A lot of talking to Bayou Ford chat about the game last night and who it meant more to and all that stuff. We get this every time the Tigers and Cajuns get together. Let me just give you some numbers, okay? LSU's RPI fell 1 with the loss yesterday, which doesn't matter at all. UL Lafayette's RPI went up 14 points to 62 yesterday. Are they in the tournament right now? No, but they're certainly within striking distance. Sunbelt looks like a 3-bid league to me. And maybe even 4 if they get a surprise winner in the tournament. Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss are top 20 RPI teams. The Cajuns went up to 62. Old Dominion and Texas State are in the top 50. The top 60. And Troy is 35. Now, they're not all going to make it, but I think at least 3 of those teams is going to make it. UL Lafayette still got series with Coastal Carolina and Southern Miss, which are the 2 teams that are closest to them in the standings. So they kind of control their own destiny. If they win both of those series, they're going to go into the Sun Belt tournament with probably, I think, an NCAA bid locked up. They lose those 2, they're going to have some work to do. But, yes, they are in the conversation. Thanks to everybody for participating. For Jacob and Mario, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're